So I apologize in advance if I forget someone or we do the best we can. We do the best we can. So, first, would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? And please silence your cell phones. I beg your pardon? I pledge allegiance Thank you. And I almost could to make an announcement. We had this bright idea for a QR code for the new folks to be able to sign in without having to stand in line. Don't use it. If you did because it takes you to the template. So if you fill it out, it changes the form. So delete it. We will have it fixed by tomorrow. So please don't use if you got the QR code. We apologize. First off, I would like to thank our amazing sponsors. And we have them, excuse me, I shouldn't move because they don't like me to move. We have the sponsors on several boards throughout this room. We also have many sponsors. We have sponsors here, we have sponsors here, and without them, we could not put this on. I will also share with you that I don't know if you are aware that it costs us approximately $75,000 every year to put on Grand Lake U.S. Constitution Week. It's not cheap, folks. And so in addition to our sponsors who have helped, if you feel the need, we have donation buckets, but we also have a Venmo. And if you want to write a big check, you can hand deliver it to me in my hot little hand, and I'll make sure that you get a thank you note. And we are 501c3, excuse me, so it is all tax deductible. But again, we are a shoestring organization, and we're still in the hole, so, for this year. So I just thought I would share that. Okay. I would like to have the U.S. Constitution Week board members raise their hand, and the wonderful volunteers that we have today. If you would raise your hand and shake it. We all work just because we want to put on this event. So thank you so much for all of your help. I would also like to ask in the audience some questions, just to know who we've got here. Do we have any veterans in? Would you raise your hand? Thank you for your service. And I know we have people for their first time because I'm sitting in the sign-in desk, but could you raise your hand if this is your first U.S. Constitution Week? Oh my gosh. Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, we'll have a QR code that works, but you can be able to go to the sign-in desk anytime. And to confirm, the reason why we want sign-ins is because we like to get numbers of who actually showed up. That's the only way we know. We appreciate emails, so we can email you next year's stuff, but we don't sell the information. We don't, it's safe with us. So if we could at least have your email, we have great counts. And if you sign in electronically as a new person, next year you'll be on the list, so you won't have to do it again. All you need to do is check once for the whole week. If you've checked, you're golden for the rest of the week. How about anyone from outside of Grand County? Do we have people who are outside of Grand County? How about out of state? Oh my goodness. And I'm kind of curious, how many are in Grand County? Thank you. I'm a retired project manager. I love data. I love, that's why one of the questions on the form. How'd you hear about us? Okay, we talked about sign-in. We have complimentary water and coffee in the back, and we want to especially thank Blue Water Bakery and Size Deli for providing the coffee. Okay, so we have the schedule. You are on day 2. We are the first schedule, the first speaker. This evening at 5 o'clock, Brian Bloomfeld is going to be doing a presentation on the Killdozer. Those of you who are local are probably aware of that. That should be a really good talk. Tomorrow, we have a couple things. We have a movie at noon at the Community House. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Community House, the big park that's on the main drive, there's 2 buildings. One's the library, one's the Community House. And it is going to be called the American Constitution. And so that should be awesome. And again, all the events, except for the meet and greet, are free. And 3 p.m., we anticipate having a trivia contest at Rockies. For those of you who are not familiar with Rockies, it's on the main drag. It is on the right-hand side, and that it's a lot of fun every year. At 5 p.m., we have Dr. William Morrissey speaking. Thursday, we have a Veterans Roundtable at noon. And at 5 p.m., we have Thomas Cranowinter speaking. Friday is Youth Appreciation Day, and we have a lot of things going on. I can't explain it as well as Mark did yesterday, but there's going to be demonstrations. There are going to be kind of reenactment things. It should be really cool. And so it's not just for youth. And then if you have kids, 1 p.m., we have free pizza here. We have youth activities, like lots of youth activities. I don't see a lot of young kids, but we have these schedules, big and little, stacks of them on the back table. So please take advantage of them. Saturday is our big day. We have our parade at 10 a.m., which is always fun. And we have the festivities with our Master of Ceremonies, Kim Monson, from 560 KLZ Radio. We have the fife and drum group that is going to be, it's going to be so cool. We have a flyover scheduled for noon, and tentatively, is it a golden or no?
It depends on the weather and the national security threats, but we are approved by the FAA and the Pentagon, and Ginny's been in touch with Buckley Air Force Base.
So that should be fun. Again, and then 1 p.m. is our keynote speaker, Jonathan Turley. And following his speech, we are going to have an outdoor concert with 2 groups. We have fireworks at 8:30 Saturday night, so everyone can enjoy. And first and foremost, at 6 p.m. at the Gateway, we have a meet and greet with Jonathan Turley. We sell tickets here. We sell his books here. And we have sold half the tickets already, so I just wanted to let you know that if you're interested, it's a hot commodity. So just wanted to share that. So we're really excited for our lineup this year. Okay, let's see, where am I? Oh, Constitution Week is an official event of the America 250, and part of the Colorado 150 celebration. So happy birthday, America. Let's celebrate 250 years of freedom. I bring your attention to the merch table. We've got hoodies, we've got long sleeve t-shirts, which you kind of need up here. We have short sleeve t-shirts for when you get home. We have hats, we have totes, we have books. We've got a lot of great merchandise, so please check that out. We have a fabulous silent auction table this year against the wall, and please take a look and see if there's anything that meets your fancy, because it is a donation. I mean, we use the money to be able to put this on every year. I would also say that, last week we had some really tragic events happen, and no American citizen was murdered for exercising their First Amendment rights. Charlie Kirk was killed, and no American citizen should ever be killed for exercising the First Amendment. We need to come together as Americans. And I would also like, if you would please join me in a moment of silence for him, his family, and the other victims of gun violence. Thank you. Also gave me an opportunity to get my phone and get my information for our fabulous speaker. Our speaker today, John Brackney, this is the first time he's spoken at Grand Lake U.S. Constitution Week, so we're really excited to have him. I have a lot of information on John, which I will share. I've tried to condense it a little bit, but he said just to introduce me as just John. But I'm like, okay, just John. But let me tell you about him and why we think it's fabulous that he's speaking today. John is a philosopher who has spent his life thinking about how to inspire and engage people in communities and create a society to help them reach their higher calling. He has 40+ years of public policy and community problem-solving experience, helping businesses and organizations become more productive and efficient through mentorship and relationship building. He began his career managing state legislative races while attending law school, and during that time, which was the first Persian Gulf War, he enlisted in the Colorado Army National Guard. He was company commander of the 147th Combat Support Hospital. He then served as captain at the National Guard State Headquarters, where he led a medical training exercise in Belize and performed civil military work in Eastern Europe, receiving the Meritorious Service Medal twice in 12 years. John was the youngest Arapahoe County Commissioner in Colorado history at the time. When re-elected, he served as chairman. 25 years ago, John founded and wrote the state constitution for Centennial, Colorado, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't know that, John. At the time of incorporation, it was the largest city in the history of the United States. He also served as chairman of the Arapahoe County Airport Authority, which is the Centennial Airport, under one of the most contentious periods in history, successfully taking a case to the U.S. Supreme Court. Upon leaving office, he was director of public policy at the South Metro Denver Chamber. He then served on the board of directors as the president and CEO for a decade. He's a lifelong resident and native of Colorado who has traveled to 38 states and 22 countries. He's been married for 36 years and has 2 adult daughters. He remains an optimist, problem solver, and patriot, and encourages you to be so as well. His topic today, guidelines, advice, and discussion to become a focused, devout citizen in a uniquely American tradition, a constitutional framework. And so please join me in giving a warm welcome to John Brackney.
I've got one. If you'll turn that off, I got one. Can you hear me? Yeah. There is no... Is it off?
It's off now.
Cool. There is nowhere in the world... It's kind of loud. What do you think?
Yeah, we need to adjust.
You're going, the poor video. What do you think? That's a little better, I think. Should we go for that now? Yeah. Now I'll try again. There is nowhere in the world, nowhere, that I'd rather be than right here today with you. I have a couple areas of expertise that I hope you're going to pull out of me, because this is going to be a discussion, and I know some of you don't like these, and I know it's possible that one or more of you will try to dominate. And so we're going to see my facilitation experience to see whether I can actually have a conversation about the Constitution. So it's been something... What do you think?
Try from there.
You want to switch? Me too.
Are you good with the wireless?
We'll try again. I like this a little better. Doesn't? Sounds more like my voice. Okay, so I don't know about you, but I had a really good dad and mom. He did have a failure or two, and I mean this. Most of you got to play, pitch a softball or a hardball with him or play football with your dad. My dad wasn't into that. He was a Navy guy, and he was a deep thinker. I had to read the Constitution with my dad as a little kid. And I'm telling you that, and a stamp collection and history books, and I'm telling you, that is not a good thing when you're a little kid and you want to be out playing football. But it did give a certain blessing, because it gave a maturity and a perspective of the world that most little kids don't have. Now, I love team sports. I did a bunch in high school, and I still play. I'm a runner, actually. It doesn't look like it, but I'm old. I'm telling you, the ability to think deeply about why we're even here. And yes, I actually mean spiritually, but also physically. And as a country, as a team, what does all this mean? Is it important? Does it matter? And I suggest to you that my whole career has been working on things that really matter. And by the way, we may differ on quite a few things. If you ask questions, and I ask you to start asking questions in about 15 minutes. So give me some grace for about 15. In about 30 minutes, you can even make comments and ask longer questions. Because the Constitution is a contact sport. We think it's reading the Constitution. So I have a couple questions for you as well. How many have read cover to cover? I have a bunch of them in my pocket. Do you ever see the Constitution around like free? So you pick them up? I do, and I've been doing that my whole life. How many of you read the Constitution cover to cover, so to speak? And I have many times. How many have never really even opened it? And you don't have to raise your hand if you want. You're here, never really opened it? Cool, thanks for saying that. I'm telling you, it's a contact sport. If you just open it and read it, some of it's pretty boring, actually. If you get into the Article 1, the responsibilities of Congress, yeah, there's some pretty cool things, you know, the power to tax and the power to declare war. But then it gets into some boring stuff. You get into Article 4, yeah, there's an important item in 4. But I'm telling you, it is a contact sport. So I'm hoping to bring in stories of my background to show you how just a citizen can be truly engaged in good government and good public policy. But I only want to bring that up to plead with you to get involved in this campaign. So, you can lie if you wish to. How many people are working for a city council candidate? Because almost every city in America, I'm not sure about that, in Colorado, for sure, has an election in 6 weeks. So, how many people are working on a city council election or mayoral election this fall? 1, 2. Okay, so I didn't mean to lecture you. But if you really believe in the Constitution, yeah, that's pretty patriarchal. That's pretty insulting. I'm going to occasionally model things that I don't like, and that's one of them. I don't like it when I'm talking like that. I beg you, though, to stop and reevaluate if you have time. Now, if you're raising your kids and you're just eking out a living and you have 0 time, that's actually patriotic as well. So thank you for doing that. Maybe you're going through trauma. In fact, I asked for some grace. I have an immediate family member who just yesterday we had a scheduled meeting with our surgeon. And so I'm kind of under stress today. I didn't sleep well last night. Not enough to cancel coming up here, but it's major surgery in a couple weeks, and I'm stressed, so please provide me some grace. I get it. If you're a family member, if you're tired, you're old, you're sick, maybe your work ethic isn't what it used to be, then don't get involved in city council candidates. Those are only excuses. Everybody else has to go back when you leave this week and look on the interweb, find out what city you're in, find out who's your council person, if they're up for election, if there's an at-large candidate or there's a mayor, and you got to say, I'd like to introduce myself and give 1 or 2 lines about who you are. And then say this, and you will be like a 0.00001. No one does this. One person does this. No one does this. Say, tell me about your views on the Constitution. That's it. What you're doing is it's a job interview, and you're asking them about America, what it means to be an American. Just say, what are your views on the Constitution, and provide them grace, because no one does this. So they'll be stumped. They'll go, well, what do you mean? You know, they'll give you a pretty lousy answer, by the way. And that's okay. So coach them a little bit. Tell them why you spend at least an hour here, or maybe the full week, in understanding the Constitution in deep, meaningful ways. Tell them what's important to you. So I ask you, if you're handwriting, please do, or if you thumb on your phone, or if you have a good memory, just remember this. What is a word, one word, that describes you as a human being? Not your job. Jobs are important to some of us, and it can be your job. Maybe the sheriff's deputy. It could be law enforcement officer, LEO, and that describes you, and thank you for your service. That's an excellent answer. For most of us, though, we're more than a job. We love our jobs, hopefully, but it's just a portion of our life. So if you're, please write it down, or you're not going to hand this in. You're not even going to tell me unless you want to. But write one word of who you are. I'll help you out more. If there was only one word on your tombstone, what would it be? One word. I'll give you 10 or so more seconds to think about it. Ask the candidate who they are, and they'll start to say, oh, I went to law school and I was in the military and all that, and that's all fine. No, ask them really who they are, what they stand for, why they're thinking about running for office. And they should be able to answer that, by the way. If they can't say that, well, they might, and a lot of it might be anger. A lot of it may be fear. There's a problem that the city council didn't do, or they said they do, or the other person's a liar. There'll be some reason why they're running for office. Some of it is hatred. Some of it, you hope, is love, though. Their family, their next-door neighbors, their sense of community and sense of belonging. They should tell you that. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, if you know who you are, and you ask somebody else who they are, and they give you pretty good answers, and you can coach them to see if they, you can pull things out of them. You've just determined whether you want to volunteer for them or not. That's all. That's the American experiment. Can we govern ourselves? That's really the big question declared in the Declaration of Independence. Sure, there's a long litany of things that we didn't like about the king, but really it's a couple things. We're going to read that out loud too. It's a couple things in the preamble of the Declaration of Independence that are really meaningful. It actually defines us as Americans. Now, if you've traveled overseas, everybody, at least Mexico, Canada, most of us traveled overseas. They're good people, aren't they? Aren't they nice? They're pleasant. You exchange meals. They're helpful. You see the cool sights. I love people all around the world. I think the world's a pretty cool place, and I've been to some semi-dangerous places. Don't go to Belize City, ever. But go out to the Keys if you want to see some things. But don't go to Belize City, one of the world's dangerous cities. And yes, I've toured all around it. But I still kind of like some of those shopkeepers in a really horrible environment. I mean, it's crime-ridden horror. Gosh, I'm not a good marketer for Belize City. Belize is wonderful. People are good all over the place, but there is a difference between Americans, and this may even be controversial, I guess. There is a difference between Americans and really most of the world. Now, maybe it can be argued that Western Europe and India sometimes and Japan a little bit. I don't know. There's a big difference between Americans and everywhere else. Does that mean they're bad? Nope, they're good people. But if we do our job right, we're a beacon of freedom and liberty around the world. The more successful we are as Americans, the more peace and prosperity, people living in nonviolent situations, the safer we are. Any ally that's peaceful, prosperous, and free around the world is a win for America. Why? It's right in the Declaration of Independence, and it's also framed by the Constitution. So, do we care about the Declaration? By the way, I'll give you a couple bona fides about my constitutional background. But it's been the last 5 years, though, that I've paid more attention to the Declaration of Independence than I have historically the Constitution. And I'll explain why. But do you agree with that statement? Do you all believe the Declaration's an important document? Okay, here's where my mistake was, and I'll show you some of the stuff in my background. I thought the Declaration of Independence was a war document, was a list of grievances. When we're really mad, when government is so bad, you say, yeah, you have an obligation as a human, natural rights to declare your ability to control your own destiny, king, and we're forming our own country. That's kind of what I thought it was, and it is. But broader and more importantly, we'll read it, is all men are created equal. So, here's something controversial. I hope it's not controversial. I hope it's not controversial in this group because you're here, but it might be. if you don't believe that all men are created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights in the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, oh gosh, I can't say this. Don't do this at home. It's not persuasive. So figure out better language than I'm using. But I submit you're probably not fulfilling your obligation and responsibilities as an American. That's what defines America. Is not the color of their skin, not their gender, not anything born about them. If they're human, they are endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights. It's not government that's giving that to them. They exist of their own being. That's not true around the world. It's not. Go to any, and I mentioned Japan, India, all the monarchies of Europe, the dictatorships of Central and South America, the brutal communist thugs of China and Russia. It doesn't matter. They don't believe that. They believe, are you in that power structure? Are you in my family? If that's the history of the human race, is are you born to the right family? And if you're born to the right family, everything is yours for the taking. Lives, property, everything. So your goal, if you're born to that right family, is to concentrate and keep that power to yourself and all your extended family and friends. That's your job. That's the history of the human race until America came along. If you're not in that family, what's your job? Servant, slave, or rebel to kill that family and impose your own family and then keep that for as long as possible. That's the history of war and humans. Isn't that just horrible? I mean, I don't mind violence. I shouldn't say it after this week. I enlisted in the Army and then became an officer. I think there are times that violence is necessary. Some people aren't going to be stopped by anything else but violence. So there's a time and place for violence. But it shouldn't be our first goal. Our first goal should be peace, prosperity, freedom. I don't know, does this sound radical? So if you're a good American, please believe in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal. And I know we can get into details. Does that include women? Yeah. Does that include blacks? It gets complicated. Listen to your experts on this. It does get complicated. There are more than truths, or you can have two truths at the same time. I happen to believe in America from the founding to right now. I also happen to believe in America next year and 250 years from now, because the ability of people to determine their own destiny, to be their own dude, to live life the way they want to live it. Don't most people want that most of the time? Trick question. Do most people most of the time want to have individual liberty and freedom and control their own lives and do their own thing? Trick question. Yes or no? Yes. Who says no? Any no's? You want to take a stab at why some people don't like freedom? Briefly, and I'll repeat it. Yeah. Yeah. Did you all hear that? Sometimes it's easier to allow somebody else to control you. What's that? It's easy to be a sheep. Yeah, it really is. You can just kind of move on with your life, and then you care for your family. It doesn't mean you're a bad person necessarily. It just means you have other obligations, or you're just desperate. There's a lot of people that want to be controlled. Yes, sir. Sure. Yeah. The old fascist comment about Mussolini, the trains run on time. And there's an advantage to feeling safe and orderly and sure. Yeah. Remind me to tell you about my trip to China and what I learned from a diplomat in China that I probably shouldn't tell you because I've got to change all the things. I don't want them to die. But yes. Were you going to say something?
I said out of fear.
Out of fear, yeah. If you think about it, when we've traveled around the world, and maybe some desperate places in inner cities of major cities all over America, or maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say parts of the country, but there are parts of the country that have been poor for decades or generations. And there's lots of people that don't have the freedom to think big thoughts and personal responsibility and obligations. They're just eking it out. Folks, I actually think, sounds horrible, I think most people would actually just be told what to do. Maybe not in America. I hope not in America. I happen to have a tremendous belief in Americans. To say it in a crass kind of way, we are rebels. Have you ever actually talked to your neighbor? They don't want you telling them what to do. You don't want to be told what to do. I don't care if you voted for President Trump or candidate Harris. You don't want them to tell you what to do. You don't. You may have voted for him and be enthusiastic about it, but you do not want them to control your lives. Americans are a stubborn breed. We're kind of ornery, and I like that. I think we're more ornery than any other society in the world, and I think that's something we should celebrate, not be kind of depressed that sometimes we're mad at each other. A lot of times we're mad at each other, but I don't think we should be sad and depressed about that. I think we should kind of go, boy, that person's got an opinion. They're strong, and they're going for it, and they're raising their family and doing their thing, and hopefully giving a little bit to charity or faith or humanity, and hopefully they die well. Because really, why are we here? So, should I start giving my speech yet, or is this okay? I do think I want to check my notes real quick. There's a couple things you should probably know about me that weren't on the bio. The bio's not really important. I beg of you to get involved. This time. The reason for it is practice. It's just city council. But city council is where most organizational structure should be, shouldn't it? I mean, it's the barking dogs and the potholes and the zoning, and all of a sudden you put your life savings into a house and you make it nice, and you're going to let your kids inherit it, hopefully, if you live okay. And then all of a sudden there's a multi-duplex, quadruplex apartment thing, and wild people are just renting and don't care about it, and they're right next to your home, and they call it NIMBY, and we hate NIMBY. No, you don't hate NIMBY. It's called private property rights. It's called your home. It's called your destiny, and government's going to come along and change all that. What's more important than city government? There really isn't any. And by the way, I'm not just making this up. It's by Constitution. It's not just the 10th Amendment. It's in the organizational structure of our Constitution to put power down at the local level, down to the HOA, if you like contracts. I happen to live in a wild and woolly neighborhood. We don't have anything, and boy, we got you see trailers and paint jobs and weeds and neat things and horrible things. My wife and I like that. We don't want an HOA up by contract of you telling me what to do in my home. It's my property. And we have to put up with some junk once in a while. But you don't have to do that. You can, by contract, choose to have a covenant with your neighbors and have an HOA that decides what you can do with your American flag or other kind of flags or the height of your weeds or trees and so on and so on. That's where government should be. So the 10th Amendment does specifically say it really shouldn't be at the federal level. So you can be as liberal as you wish. My wife's pretty liberal, and I love her to no end. I met her in college, and we've been married 34 years. I think that's when I put in 1989. I'm lousy with math. I went to law school. I'm telling you, I love my wife, but she's pretty liberal on stuff. Does that mean she's mean or dumb or not sympathetic to our pocketbook? I want less taxes, and I want less government. I want local control. I want us to determine our lives, and she wants to care for people more, and she wants to care for women and children. Is there anything wrong with that? No, God, I love her. She's wonderful. That's, by the way, I just described the lowest form of government, which is, what's the smallest unit of government in America? We, the people, more specifically. That's even broader. Who's the smallest unit of government? What? Say it aloud. Person? One person. I am a unit of government. Please don't mess with me. I just want to live my life. Don't put rules and regulations on me unless you absolutely have to. I believe that I am a unit of government. And I went into a marital contract with my wife. Our kids actually, well, they're grown. They can do what they want now. But when they were kids, they were in our government. Sorry. So there's my wife and I, a 2-person government, and then 2 daughters, and when they were young, there's a 4-person government. Please don't mess with us. It's right in the Constitution, private property rights. Leave me alone. Are there exceptions? Sure. You shouldn't be able to hurt your children. You should not be able to, you know what I mean. You just shouldn't. There are certain societal things that impose upon my rights, but laws deal with that. We'd all agree on most of it, most of the time. But absent those extreme situations that are, unfortunately, I was in charge of social services for a few years. There are some pretty bad people that do some pretty bad things, including to their own family members. Ugh, gosh, yikes. We should get involved in some of that. But absent those extremes, most people, most of the time, do the right thing, don't you think? We may not like what they're doing, but they're living their life. Agree or disagree? By the way, if you disagree, which is fine, you're called more liberal than I am. And there's not anything wrong with that. It just means you want more laws and more regulations and more infringements on people. And there's really, when you're in an apartment building in downtown Denver or in college, anyone ever been in a dorm or in an apartment building? People do stupid stuff. They stay up really late at night drinking and smoking pot and yelling, and there's a football game on 3 in the morning, and you're trying to get to class when you're young, or when you're an adult and you can only afford an apartment, and you both got to go to work, and they're up drinking and carousing with their friends. No, you got to put some restrictions on people in high-density things. Is it shocking that in urban cities they're more liberal? Of course not. They have to put in all that stuff. Otherwise, they hurt each other. You have to put in more rules. Out in the prairie, in the mountains, is it shocking that people are more conservative? Shooting their guns out in the middle of the night, hooray, who cares? I mean, no one's going to listen to them, or they're shooting with you. And so what we should do is we should just have maturity. I beg you, when you call your city council person, and I know I'm being repetitive here, but when you call your city council person, tell them who you are, ask them who they are, ask them about why they're running, and then, I don't know, explore some things. Like, do you like more regulations and more taxes, or less regulations and less taxes? I'll go into more detail if we have time, but most politicians don't want to tell you this kind of stuff. Why? Because they're losing your vote. And so you've got to be mature yourself to go, well, I'm going to try to find the best between the 2 or 3 or 4, however many are running. And that's your only job, is to interview candidates and elected officials. And your job as the citizen is to be the mature one. Their job is to be the salesperson. It's not to educate you on the Constitution. It's not to make us worldly and wise. Their job is a salesperson to get elected because they are really mad at barking dogs or whatever they ran for. Our job as citizens is to create peace and prosperity around here in America and then around the world, because then we're safer. The more people that demand peace and prosperity and freedom, the safer we are at home. And yes, we need a strong military. Am I making some sense, or do you think I'm a madman? Okay. Somebody said madman. I heard that. I'm sorry, what? Ask my, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, she knows me. Whoo, boy, does she know me. Oh, when I asked you earlier to say one word about yourself, what you'd like on your tombstone, is that in theory? And you just say, anyone willing to share your word? And you can lie. It can be a secondary or third. We're not trying to pin you down. What's your word? Christian, love it. Thoughtful, love that too. And by the way, I bet he's the youngest man in our audience today. What's your name? What is it? Sydney. What's your story? Quickly. Thoughtful. What's your story? Why are you here? Go ahead. Just one line.
He's part of the government.
he wanted to be out trail running like I was doing. I get it. This is your school today, and this is part of your learning process. Where are you from? Texas. I'm telling you, you could be like me, unfortunately. Go out and play football with your dad. Otherwise, you end up speaking about the Constitution in the future. So I love that you're here, young man. Thank you. Is it thoughtful? Any other one or two lines? Yes, ma'am. Volunteer is who you are? Volunteer. Curious. Love that. Any others? Mother. Love that. Servant. Gosh, isn't this great to hear a little bit about people? When you are those things, are they just a word? Or do you actually have to act on it? Do you have to do stuff to be a mom or thoughtful or curious? Or it's an active sport. And so please, please, please tell people who you are and be proud of it and ask them who they are. And by the way, I know I've alluded to it, but is an R or a D or an L or other variations green, communist? Let's not go communist. But all those things you can register in America, are those as important as mom or curious or thoughtful? And some of you might say, yeah, damn right it is. I am only a Republican, period. And if you ain't a Republican, you're against me. I get that. And that's where all of America is going to right now. Is R's are saying that against D's, and D's are saying that R's. And I am begging you to be more mature and be more wise than that. But it's an active sport. You've got to start with a principle or a document that makes sense. You can't just hate somebody for no reason, and you can't love somebody for no reason. Put the Declaration of Independence in that question in the conversation with City Council. It's all just practice, because it's only a month and a half away. They're probably already going to win or not win based on what they've already done. This is practice for the next gubernatorial election. You can support Barbara Kirkmeyer, who I served with as a county commissioner. She was in Weld, I was in Arapahoe County on the Republican side. Or one of 15 other Republicans running. Oh my gosh, 16 Republicans right now. So how are you going to determine who is the best candidate to protect the Constitution for governor in 2 years? 1 year. The answer is, you're not unless you tell them who you are, ask them what they are, and what their thoughts are on the Constitution. And you have just become a 0.0001% American. And if you end up liking them, you'll walk door to door, you'll give them a few bucks, you'll put an endorsement, you'll make a few phone calls, and you'll have access. There's only two major Democrats, Bennett on one side, and then the other is the Attorney General, Phil Weiser. Yeah. Sorry. And I do know him superficially. I know Senator Bennett really well. You have two there, or 16 on the Republican side. You got a lot of phone calls to make. And by the way, most of them are going to blow you off. And so you got to figure some little in to get them to return your phone call. And that's usually through an aide or assistant. But you got to call them up and say, by the way, I just spent a week, if you did, at Constitution Week. And one of my tasks that I've determined for myself is I should be a good citizen and know thoughtfully how to vote for people. And I just want a 5-minute conversation with Governor Blank or candidate for Governor Blank. Please do this. I've been doing this for 40 years. So on this one, who doesn't have their own copy of their Constitution? Where did mine go? Where did I put those? They're there. Is there anybody that's never had their own copy? Everybody has a copy of their Constitution they carry with them? There's not a single person that doesn't have their own copy of their Constitution. Oh, you just gave them? I want one too. I'll exchange you for this. My name's in this one, so that's why I really like this one. When you look in the back, you'll see all these elected officials. Well, those are folks that I've known for 30 or 40 years. And so I can tell you about, I only have like one more. I can tell you about them, but who cares? They're old folks now. You need to know the younger folks that are running for office. Why? Because our country means something. 250 years in just 4 months from now. The longest serving constitutional republic in the history of the world. I only sat here for a couple minutes last night with your speaker. Who heard him last night talking about the Roman? He said something about 300 years of the central. I came for a couple minutes. 300 years was the primary part of the Roman Republic. Did he say that? I think he's wrong. Or there's a difference between the way they had the republic versus and by the way, he's a great guy, isn't he? I worked with him on a project to reform federal government. He's a really good guy. But I believe we are the longest serving constitutional republic in the history of the world at 249, coming up to 250 next year. And that is we're celebrating in enormous ways. So in a few more minutes, I'm going to make an offer for you that I hope you can't refuse. And that's how to engage as a citizen for the whole year. It won't cost you any money, but it will take you about 30 hours of your time over the course of a year. I bet 20 of you will do it. Okay. Do you think the United States is delivering on the promise of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution? Yay or nay? Yay? There's only 3 people yay. I'm a yay. 4, 5, 6 of us. The rest of you are no. So you're bummers, you're depressed, you're sad, you're mad, you're angry. Right? Or what? Is that the kind of things? Okay. So I am going to give you a path to get more optimistic like I am. But it's going to take at least a year. In fact, I suggest it's going to take the rest of your life. This is not a, I just sat through a, what is it called when you become a U.S. citizen? There's a name for that. What is it? Yeah, naturalization, swearing the oath to the Constitution. A gentleman from Colombia that I ran into, and he invited me because I was talking the Constitution and being an American. He goes, I'm going to be an American in 3 weeks. Will you come? I was honored to be there. Those folks study, but have you all looked at the 100 questions that they asked to be a U.S. citizen? Yes? Some of us, all of us, a couple of us? They're interesting. That's one of your first assignments is to look those 100 questions up. And by the way, I don't know, it's 30 or 40 of them that are just memorization rote facts. All of them are kind of memorization because they ask you, I think, 10 questions out of the 100 randomly, the interviewer, and you have to get 6 out of 10 right. And they give you like 3 options on the answer, and they urge you not to do what I'm doing by going into detail and passion. No, they just say, the Declaration of Independence is the answer. You know, they just tell you what to say, and that's what you say if you want to make sure you pass the exam. And by the way, I get that. It's better than nothing. But this is a contact sport. You have to really understand people. And they go, yeah, but I don't like this politician because of this or this issue because of that. And I'm suggesting that every single issue that you watch on the news or see on social media, every single one, the first question you should say is, what's the Constitution say? So this has been hanging on my wall since 1996 when I first got elected and then when I was the CEO of the chamber. And you go to the Constitution, whether it's in your hand or whether it's on your wall, and you say, is it constitutional? That should be all of our first questions. I'm not asking you whether it's moral or right or good, because we may need a constitutional amendment. There may be some things that need changing. But the process is you need to go through a constitutional amendment if you don't like what this Constitution says. So start with, yes, the Supreme Court can interpret it differently, and then it means something different. Guns. The individual right to have a gun as a citizen. The Supreme Court changed that a few years ago, 10 or 15 years ago. Was it Hester? What decision was that? Anyone know? It wasn't Hester. It should be on the top of my memory. Please, please, please. First question, is it constitutional? It has to pass that threshold, because it doesn't matter whether you like it or not if it's not constitutional. Second question, if it's constitutional, then what does the statute say? Did Congress pass a law on it? Or, in state, did the state legislature pass a law? But are they guilty or not? Should they go to prison? I don't know, is it constitutional and is there a law on that? The thing that makes America unique in our system is that if we want to understand what the law is, guess what? We can read it. You don't have to go to law school. You can just read it. Now, is it right? Sure, it gets complicated pretty quick, but you can read it. That's what makes America unique. In other countries, a dictator can say, when one powerful family takes over from another powerful family, you have to change your property and your religion and your persona and your ideas and the way you speak and the way you act, because otherwise you might die. And so you revamp and salute a new flag or salute because a new power broker took over. That hasn't been true in 249 years of American history. Sure, there's been some pretty liberal presidents and some pretty conservative ones. And maybe you're thrilled right now, or maybe you're not. But the bottom line is, what are they sworn to? The Constitution. What is he sworn to? The Constitution. What is every single employee, even if they have a litmus test to say, do you like what the president's doing? Shocking. I kind of want employees, when I have employees, to like what we're doing. That's not necessarily controversial. But who are they sworn to? An idea, not a man. They're sworn to uphold an idea. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that worth fighting for? Isn't that worth something that we all should rejoice in? I know you're down. Stop it. You can be down for a while. I'm hoping in a year you'll change your opinion. I mean this. You should also know who your political heroes are. Please write those down. Mine are easy. The big ones, the common sense ones. George Washington. To have somebody who voluntarily gave up power when everybody loved him. He was the general of the armies, and then president, and then voluntarily went away. Didn't have to. Everybody would have rejoiced if Washington would have lived there as president until he died, but he said no. It's not what our system is about. It's about we the people. And for that, he should be put on a pedestal forever. Did George Washington do a couple bad things in today's perspective? Sure. Same with Lincoln. Same with Jefferson. Does that make them bad people? Does that make them not on a pedestal? No, Washington changed the course of human trajectory because it's always been about power, brute force. Whoever has the strongest bicep or knife or gun or bigger gun or more, what is that when you're just brutal? I mean, when you're just willing to hurt people when they're sleeping or kill them when they're sleeping or get a gang of you to hurt people when they're not ready to defend themselves. The brutality of the human race still exists in most people around the world today. And we see examples, unfortunately, a horrible example this last week. A horrible example. It's dreadful. But most of us are not that way, willing to take another human life. It's so inconceivable of us to use violence to get our way. So our job as a mature citizen, and by the way, I fully know that I saw the poll that said, I think it was 40% of Republicans are willing to use violence to get their way in a political cause. Maybe you were one of the ones that said that. And I get it. Throughout my life, I've said, I'm going to go punch that guy, and I get it. And so I hope they're just in theory, and the people answer that poll, and they don't really mean it. I think it was like 35% of Democrats are willing to use violence against their political opposition if necessary. And I know it's in the founding document in our Declaration of Independence that if it's so obscene, there is a right of the people to have a new government. I realize our history and tradition. But for the most part, don't we want to live peacefully? And don't we want to be prosperous? And don't we want to be free? That's what all of us should be advocating for on a daily basis with every single person we meet, especially the people we disagree with. Especially those people. So hopefully we're going to get to questions soon where you can drill me on anything you wish. I know we're a 501c3, we're a nonpartisan organization, so we shouldn't talk R&D politics, I get it. So try to show some maturity and not asking me hardball questions on partisan politics, but you can. So where do we learn our stuff? A couple more things about me. I won the 8th grade Sertoma Club, What Freedom Means to Me essay. It was college scholarship. Found out it was $36, and when it matured, it was $50. But it was a scholarship. But it probably changed the course of my life. To go down there with my father to a local club and to see all the one person from each school, and there was like 50 of us, and write a 2-page essay on freedom. What's John's one word? Freedom. And I know it causes problems. But still, that's my banner that I'm waving. I want you to be the person that you want to be and live the life that you want to live and encourage others to do the same. Just don't force me to do what you want to do with your life. I may not want to do that. And that's what makes America unique. Yes, I've run for office 5 times. Won 3 of them. No, I've run 7 times and won 5 of them. The high school and college thing don't count. But do you swear to uphold the Constitution when you run for class president in high school or college vice president? Anyone? Yes or no? I don't think so. At least we didn't in our high school and our college. So I didn't swear to the Constitution then. Did I swear to the Constitution when I was a Boy Scout? 3 merit badges: citizenship in the community, citizenship in the state, citizenship in the nation. Do you swear to uphold the Constitution when you're a Boy Scout? Order of the Arrow. I don't think we did, but you think we might have? Well, maybe I need to add how many times I've sworn to the Constitution then. I'll look that up. Thank you. How about the Army when I enlisted? Swear to uphold the Constitution? You bet. How many privates in the Army have read the Constitution? I asked you cover to cover. How many privates in the Army as a 17-year-old, mostly poverty, not exclusively, but a lot of people trying to figure out the world and create opportunities for themselves. It's a great profession, but they're not probably the best book-learned people in the world. They're young men and women. How many of them have read the Constitution? What's your guess? I think it's probably none, right? But they're swear to uphold the Constitution. So how do you reconcile that? They need mentors and leaders. And so do those candidates running for office. Everybody, sheriff's deputy, every postal clerk, every election official is sworn to uphold the Constitution. They need leaders in their community to tell them what the Constitution means and encourage them to read it and understand it. I see your sign to say, why doesn't your community have a Constitution Week? Yeah, we should probably do that as a part-time hobby for some of you to figure out how to get a Constitution Week in Centennial or wherever you live. Please do that. When I graduated law school, sworn to uphold the Constitution or not? No. Bar exam, yes. Every single lawyer, you may hate them, but every single lawyer is an officer of the court. They are paid to represent their clients, or government pays them to represent defendants, but they are also an officer of the court, and they can't mislead the court. They can lose their whole career in their profession, and they can also go to jail. It's one of the systems, besides the media, that puts America in a special, unique place. We may hate lawyers, and sometimes rightfully so, but they are also defenders of our constitutional republic. They have to be by oath. So ponder that. Yes, I was the founder of the largest city in the history of the United States from scratch. It took 2 years, went all the way to the Colorado Supreme Court, where we won. We got the right to hold an election before the neighboring community did a major annexation that would have forever prohibited us from being a city. That was a unique fight to sit in the Colorado Supreme Court and hear that the Supreme Court, by our state constitution, determined that a broader group of 100,000 people should have a right to be able to have the tax dollars and the ability to create their own city council people and their own constitution, which I also served as an elected official in that, writing the Constitution. If we have time later, I'll read you the preamble that we wrote. There were 3 instances in my life, in real life stuff, that I went, well, let's see, this one was to the Colorado Supreme Court, this was Colorado Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court, and then there was a direct order that I violated from a U.S. ambassador when I was overseas. I'm telling you that gentleman in the back, when he swears to uphold the Constitution, he has to actually think about that every day. When he pulls somebody over, search and seizure, I'm telling you, this is real world stuff, and the law changes and nuances, and he's sworn to uphold the Constitution. Now, he may have a boss saying we need to pull more people over or write more tickets or, do all the pressures that we have in a job, but he's also sworn to uphold the Constitution and do the right thing, and they need people to back them up. And so I beg of you, every single government servant, I know some of you don't like government, I get it. Please, every government servant you see, say thank you for serving. Every one of them. You may want their budget to be cut, and they may need to go find another job. But the bottom line is we should still say thank you for holding up your hand and swearing to uphold the Constitution. It's fairly simple stuff. How often have you done that for your candidates that you've met over the course of your life, including the ones that were at your door and you do not like them because you know their politics and they had the nerve to knock at your door? Did you, as part of that conversation, say thanks for your willingness to serve or thank you for serving? Come on, did you? Yes or no? Yes? 1, good. 2, 3. 4, thank you, Bob. There is nothing more important than this, to add respect and civility. Because if you want to win on issues, you can't win. They're never in the history of the human race has someone changed their mind because they've been insulted. None of us are going to do it. And so when you talk to a neighbor or a loved one or an elected official or a candidate and you insult them, you're just making an enemy of them. That's all you're doing. I do it. You insult me? Sorry, we're not friends. But I'm going to voice my opinion with you. No, you're not. I'm leaving, and I'm blocking you too. I don't. If you're mean to me, if you challenge my motives or character, integrity, I'm sorry, we're not friends. And by the way, you act that same way whether you articulate it or not. So don't we as citizens want to figure out how to be persuasive? Don't we want to win? Or do we just want to fight for the cause and get off some steam and then be mad again for the rest of our lives? Let's not do that. Our system's not designed for that. Our system is designed for self-governance. So our job is to figure out how to get to 50% plus 1 of everybody that votes in a specific election. That's it. And so sometimes you got to talk to some people you don't quite like as much as the other people you do like. Why? Because you're only at 49.9 and you need to get a couple hundred more votes. So you got to figure out who they are and what's important to them and find a common bond. Please, please, please find the common bond. I have been fighting for people my entire career. But it's got to be a common bond. If they don't believe in America, man, I'm not sure if I have that time to try to convince them to believe in America. I have to go to other more fertile fields where I can get to that 49 or 50 plus 1. So I'm not saying you go to your pure enemies, the people that are exact opposites of you, and try to convince them to believe what you believe. It's probably a waste of your time and theirs. You got to go to the people that are uncertain and they're not sure. And by the way, aren't you uncertain and not sure in many respects? I know you're pro-choice or pro-life or pro-gun or anti-gun or pro-gay or anti-gay and all the other taxes and foreign policy and war and peace. All those things, thousands of issues. But aren't there dozens or hundreds of those issues that you believe, oh, I believe this for the most part? But, oh, gosh, there are some complicating factors, and I'm not sure of the details. I know we should believe in this, but, oh, yeah, that's kind of tough. I'll give you that. Well, if we're that way, think of the poor candidate running for office because they ran barking dogs driving them nuts, and all of a sudden they're knocking at your door, and you're talking the Constitution with them. Please do that. Or whatever other issues you're talking about. It is really hard to run for office. And I'm not asking you to have empathy or sympathy with them. I'm just asking you to provide them a little bit of grace and look for opportunities for you to be effective with them. So when you call them up in the future, you might get your way. Isn't that great, or do we just want the king to decide for us? 249 years ago, we didn't want the king to decide for us. We don't want to do that next year or 10 years or 250 years from now. But we have to lead by example. Okay. Are we done now, or should we? So there's a couple things that I'd like to ponder with you, then I am going to open it up to questions. I just want you, I'm planting some handholds for you to ask me questions or to talk about over the course of the next year. I'd like you to really do some deep thinking on the Bill of Rights, specifically threefold. You can choose others, but these three are good, big ones. Freedom of religion. Really think through that. In fact, I ask you to write a one-pager on it. Seriously. I don't care if anyone reads it, just put it in your diary if you have a diary. But organize your thoughts. What does freedom of religion in the Bill of Rights mean to you? And then run it by somebody if you want to. And they'll go, ugh, I don't like that. Well, then change it a little bit and go, thanks, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. But if we want to be good citizens, shouldn't we be able to articulate what that means, freedom of religion, in our Bill of Rights in our Constitution? Freedom of speech, press, and assembly, all together. That's your second one-pager. Third pager. You're not liking this assignment, are you? I'm going to help you if you're inclined. Private property. It's so fundamentally American to say, I own this little plot of the world. If you don't own a little plot of the world, I'm sorry, circumstances in your life got you to where you are. And there's lots of things, physical health and bad circumstance, and mistakes you made, and mistakes others made to you, or maybe some bad people have surrounded you at some point. There's all sorts of reasons why some people don't own a little tiny parcel of the world. I ask you to go find a small parcel of the world to own. Please do that. It changes your whole psyche when you are your own government in your own little fiefdom. This is my land and my body and my place, and welcome. Come here, and you have some communion with a friend or a neighbor or a family member. If you can't get it, and there's a lot of people that are out of reach, unaffordability is a big deal, you all, but we need to model that behavior, that it's really important to respect private property. Next one, on the Constitution, please understand separation of powers, alone, checks and balances, alone, and federalism. We make this mistake on federalism so often. We go, we have to win the next presidency or our country's over. Our country's going to disappear if we don't win our candidate in the next presidency. And I suggest that is completely wrong. And it's not just because of the 10th Amendment. Our entire Constitution, nice to see you, our entire Constitution is set up where we are a United States, but we're also a union of states. Our governor, although we have a weak gubernatorial system in Colorado, our governor has tremendous power over our lives, over our financial lives and over our private lives. In other states, it's much more so. If you want to see real power in Colorado, it's called home rule municipalities. The most powerful office in all of Colorado is who, by title or name? It's not a trick question. Did you say mayor? Of what? Who is the most powerful person in all of Colorado? Yeah, literally, there's one person. Yeah, the mayor of Denver, Michael Johnston. By charter, is concentrated power. City council's very weak and very hard to do it by charter. That mayor, and you look at the budget that he controls, is power. Legislative power in Colorado is all the joint budget committee. So 6 people, 2 in the majority from the House, 2 from the Senate, and the minority, 1 and 1. I think I got that right, but look that up if I'm wrong. It's 6 people. They decide all the budgetary power in Colorado, not the governor. So, federalism. Yes, there's things that change. Abortion. Roe v. Wade, if my memory was right, it was an 8-2 decision in 1972. Dodd's overruled that, completely overruled that, to much to people's surprise. So are there federal differences that change people's ability to live the life the way they want to live it in Colorado on abortion? No. Federalism. You all know this if you're from Colorado. Citizens of Colorado, by constitutional initiative, just passed by 60% the right to abortion right up to the time of birth. By 60%. Do you know that we used to have a parental notification law in Colorado on abortion? Overruled that. Do you know that taxpayer funding was not allowed for abortion in Colorado? Overruled that. So we have the most liberal of any place in the country because of a constitutional amendment that the people put in after Dobbs. Oh wait, Dobbs said there is no constitutional right to abortion. That's true in America. Not in Colorado. There's the strongest constitutional right to abortion that there's ever been in the history of the human race right here in Colorado. So I'm not talking about abortion, by the way. I'm talking about federalism. Yes, the president's important. Local politics and state politics is so much more important than the president. Can we go to war? Yeah, and that's really important, our sons and daughters. In fact, even I can still be called up. I'm still young enough to be called back up. But absent war and immigration, the president's fairly weak on a lot of things, and so is Congress. Why? Our whole constitutional structure is set up to not give us the things that we are demanding. Do you know that? Do you agree with that? Do you think of it in that way? Well, let me say it again. Our entire system of government, our Declaration of Independence, to Constitution, to all those 249 years of Supreme Court cases, is designed to not give you and me what we want from our government at the federal level. You agree with that or not? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm 11. So I'm maybe not being clear enough, but I really want you to ponder that, because most of us go, well, I'm going to vote for a president because I'm going to get this or that, or we're going to stop this or that or the other thing, and our whole system is designed to say, no, we don't care. It's checks and balances, it's federalism, there's a Supreme Court that's going to say no on that, and it's designed to slow us down. Why? Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I'm not saying any president's bad. I'm telling you, anytime we get too much power, we tend to utilize it. And so our system is designed to say, sure, that's what you want, and we're going to think about that. And Congress will have time to react. The Supreme Court will have time to act. All the states are going to do their 50 experiments, and we're going to think about it, and some of the good ideas are going to bubble to the top, and some of the bad ideas will get discarded. But don't we want that? As Americans, don't we want? I always like using this example, and this will be offensive to some of you, but you've been to Utah, right? You have Mormon friends? I do. I have a lot of Mormon friends. It's a unique culture there. You should probably be Mormon if you're in Utah. You don't have to be. That's kind of politically incorrect to say. But no, Mormons look after each other. They believe in each other. They want you to be Mormon. Good for them. And they're kind of pious, aren't they? Good family members, by the way. They're really good people. I have a stereotype of Mormons, and I like them. But aren't they good family members as a stereotype? Aren't they good people? Aren't they ethical, moral people? Kind of pious, right? Right next to Nevada. Oh my God, have you been there? That place is decadent. It's debauchery. I like parts of it. I mean, those Cirque du Soleil shows are amazing, but you're walking along, those people are handing you flyers for stuff that I know it's part of human bodies and existence, and it's part of most of our lives. I don't want it in a piece of paper in my hand. I don't want to see that. Call me a prude. I just don't want that. I mean, legal prostitution? Do you want to ban that in Nevada? Or do you want to nationalize prostitution nationwide? How about marijuana? Abortion, gun control, education, taxes. You can go through the litany of the things on how we organize our society. Isn't America pretty neat that we have 50 experiments, including 2 states right next to each other that are almost complete opposites? Isn't that great? I want them to be complete opposites. Is Colorado too liberal for me right now? Way too liberal for me right now. Do I still like living here? Yeah, I do, because I have a huge stake. I know every living governor. I know all our senators and our congresspeople. I know 50 mayors and 70 legislators and 200 past legislators and 25 ex-mayors. And by the way, who the hell, I shouldn't say hell, who am I? I'm just a guy. I know I've studied this a long time, but it's not the Constitution that you have to be an expert on. You do not have to be a lawyer. You do not have to be a historian. You do not have to be a political science guy or gal. All you do is have to care. And again, a reminder, you care by telling people who you are. Madam Councilperson, Madam Mayor, Madam Legislator, I believe in kindness, or I'm a mom, or I believe in justice. I believe in freedom. There's lots of things that you can say, but if you talk to them in a way that's weightier and haughtier, more deep, what humans are really about, you will gather respect from them. You'll gather notoriety. You'll wonder who you are, and they'll go, well, I go to Constitution Week, and I study this, and I'm good at it. I don't know all the details, but I do know that it's important to be a freedom lover. It's important to believe in something. It's important to be an emblem or a light to the world, Because most people, although they do want safety and security, they also want to kind of live their own life. They want to have freedom and choices, don't they? If given the choice, as long as they're safe, and as long as the trains run on time, as long as there's some structure to society, people aren't getting wantonly killed, then they want freedom and a job that they want and the family that they want and the religion that they want. Isn't it our job? Shouldn't we be that bright light for the world? We have been for 249 years. I beg of you to let this continue. Are we out of time now? Yes? No? Let me conclude with your 7th paper. 1-pager is the rule of law. 8th paper is due process. Due process is not understood unless it's happening to you. When that sheriff's deputy pulls you over, do you want him searching your trunk? And the answer is yeah, probably, because you don't have anything in your trunk. Or do you? At some point in your life, do you have a weapon that you didn't register? Or who knows what's there? Do you want law enforcement searching your home and property for things that you may or may not have done? And the answer is Americans don't want them to search our property without probable cause. It's nice that they pulled us over. How you doing, Sheriff's Deputy? Thank you for your service. Search my stuff? No, thank you. That's what Americans believe in. And I don't have anything in my trunk. You don't need to pull me on the... Consent of Republican government. Your 9th paper is majority rule with minority rights. To be an American, you have to believe in minority rights. Majority rule, our system is designed to protect minority rights. Your 10th paper, consent of the governed. 11th is on democracy itself. 12th is on the republic. The natural rights, your 13th paper, is going to be on natural and inalienable rights, rights which can only just be abridged through due process, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Your 14th paper is on liberty, the power to think and act as one sees fit, without the restraint except by the laws of nature and inferring someone else's rights. Your 15th paper is equality. All individuals have the same claim to natural rights and treatment under the law. I want you to look up Lincoln's Apple of Gold, fragmentary speech, on the tie-in between the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. I'll keep it short. All men are created equal. Solidified or guaranteed by our Constitution since 1993. 1776, all men are created equal. 1993, we're going to enshrine that for generations to come. Oh, and I'm going to skip all that. Oh, I think we're out of time. If there's time for questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to say adieu or goodbye. So your choice. Before you ask a quick question, I have spent 4 decades of my life engaging people just like you. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be world traveled. You just need to be you. You are the ones that make a difference. And I'm going to offer to you to help you write these papers over the next year. Professor Tootle and I have done 138 hour-and-a-half long conversations over the last 4 years on these subjects. We're going to dedicate 25 new shows over the next year, hour-and-a-half long conversations. They're all on Spotify and YouTube. And we're going to talk about each one of these and another 10. I'd ask you to consider looking at them. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. It's part of our civic community engagement. And then I ask you to consider writing a paper, and you're going to turn that in to your children after you're gone, or you're going to write an op-ed at the local paper about things we as citizens should be thinking about in order to have our country be strong for the next 250 years. So 1 paper or 1 show for 25 over the course of the next year. If I get invited back, we'll share some of these stories. If I don't, you can just communicate me and we'll share them through the internet. Will you consider doing this? I know it sounds brutal. Writing a paper? I don't want to do that. That's work. I'm out of school. I ask you as a good citizen to consider it. You don't have to do all 25. Maybe you're only going to write 1 or 2, and maybe you're only going to show up for 10 shows out of 25. But the bottom line is, don't we have an obligation as citizens to be really good citizens? It's not just a word. Let's act on our citizenship. Thank you for having me, and I'm happy to answer questions. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so it is the story on China. And I really do want to, I'm going to muddy the facts a little bit because there's a real live human being in China that I could do damage to. And of course, I would want to do that. Here in America, the consulate said, when you go to China, I was on a gubernatorial trade mission to China, Beijing and Shanghai. They said, do not talk politics. I mean, they were really hardcore. The U.S. government is telling the 20 of us on the trip, governor and people like me, do not talk politics. They'll kill you. I mean, you cannot talk politics. They didn't say that, I don't think. Sorry for the internet web. You cannot talk politics in China. If you're not talking that family policy, the communist doctrine, you aren't going to be in business, and you're not going to have property, and you're not going to have a job. You may not be around. You cannot talk politics in China. And they told us that. Do not talk politics in China. So we get off on the plane. And we meet with the embassy staff, and they say, what? Do not talk politics. You can't do it. Don't talk politics. So anyway, I'm actually smarter than I sound. I'm actually fairly smart. We had a lunch, and the governor and some premier or whatever were all in a room, and there was like 2 chairs left. It was a 40-person room, and there was 42 of us. And I was in the back of the line on that one. And they said, sorry, there's no more room. And I go, no problem. And they go, well, go out to lunch at this little place. So they sent a high-level diplomat and their spy, and I think it was one other American. There was 4 of us, went to a pure Chinese restaurant. There's no English on the menu. It's just where locals go. And I'm fairly smart because I know I cannot talk politics. So I asked a very simple question. Tell me the entire history of American and Chinese relationship from 1776 to present. And I shut my mouth. And for the next hour, this person outlined the differences between China and America. And a couple things that I took from this. It is a very difficult system to compete against. Because as long as you're creating wealth, you got a new product, a new widget, a new business, go for it. It is like almost free enterprise. What is that when it's chaos? I mean, just do it. But, and I guess not but, when you make a mistake, you remember the milk that they had something in the, there's no trial, they went and just executed the factory, and I think the owner of that factory. Now, were they killing babies? Yeah, that's bad and horrible. There was something in the milk product, the formula thing. And they just executed them. How do we compete against that? Seriously, how do we've got lawsuits forever. I mean, they'll keep producing milk, and in America, it's very expensive to do business in America. But you can't talk politics. So you get to live your life. You have freedom to build things and manufacture things and trade them, and you keep your mouth shut for your whole entire life about personal responsibility and obligations and freedom. And some people like that. 1.6 billion people apparently like that, enough not to rebel against it. And we have to compete against people that are working harder for a lot less money, with no lawsuits and instantaneous justice. How do we win in that battle in this worldwide marketplace? It is really hard. That's what I took home on that. I want you to ponder that with me. Secondarily, this thing I just remember vigorously. They said, we trust Americans. China trusts Americans. Why? I think that probably is violating the don't talk politics, but why? Answer, because Americans will always, always act in their best interest. We can negotiate on that. We can, as long as we know you are just looking after you, you're looking after Americans and America, we can deal with that. But Russia is the exact opposite. They will hurt themselves and you out of spite or out of insanity or out of no reason at all. You can never trust Russians. And this is from the Chinese. And I think that's a really interesting thing. Don't we want to have stability, both in thought and action as Americans, and have the whole world know about it, rather than just wealth creation, China, or insanity of the family dictatorship, Russia, who may act against their own interests just because they're mean-spirited or lonely or weird or odd, to kill their own people for no good reason. I don't want any of that. I know we're a mess in America occasionally. I know we see the social media friends that say stupid stuff, and we say stupid stuff, and our media says stupid stuff, and our politicians do stupid stuff. But isn't our stupid stuff better than those other systems and their stupid stuff? Just food for thought. I convince you, I hope, beg of you, that we are better than other countries, especially dictatorships. Did that answer your question? Yes, ma'am. What's your question? Yeah. So I don't know if we want to create a sub-tiny partnership. If we do, you can get it right through this organization. I'm sorry, I meant to talk to you about that before. But I'm hoping that we do a year-long study project together. That's what I'm hoping we do. And then it'll be by email, it'll be by Facebook, it will be on Spotify, YouTube, and Zoom meetups with professors. We have a professor from the Army War College and the Naval War College. And when you want to talk about military and the U.S. ability, it's neat to talk to a guy who's written 5 books and is teaching cadets for the last 40 years from the Naval War College. I mean, we have some really cool insights, and it's free, so why not just be a good citizen with us? And I'll try to get you to write a paper or something, but you don't get a grade. You're not going to tell your mom. I mean, if you don't do your work, you don't do your work. I'd like to be an official partnership, and then we come back next year and report on this. That's my goal, is that we get 10 or 20 or 30 of us to really think through the Constitution, how to be a good citizen, and then engage with each other and kind of spread that around the country. That's my goal. If the organization doesn't want to do it with me, then you'll just reach out by phone or Facebook or text with me, and we'll figure it out. Cool? No pressure. I mean, sorry. Next one. Question. Are we over? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yeah. No, I'm going to create a curriculum with these professors. And we're going to say, in this week, we're going to do this, and the following week, we'll do this. I think I called it, it's like 25 essential citizenship principles to celebrate 250 years of America. Oh, I haven't created that. I haven't put that yet. Yeah, but I think it's going to be 25 principles that citizens should consider on our 250th anniversary. I didn't know if anyone would be interested. So can you, not to put you on the spot, but is anyone interested in this? Kind of raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thanks, Aaron. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, I'm going to do this. So we'll just put it on an email, and then I'll create a Facebook group too, and then or a LinkedIn thing, and an email chain, and whatever, and then we'll communicate. So do you mind if they just send it to you, and you can forward my email or something? John Brackney at msn.com. John, JOHN BRACKNEY, at msn.com. We'll probably use Zoom calls, and then you can look, if you can't make the call, then we'll do it on, you'll look it up on Spotify or YouTube if you want to watch the conversation. Yes, sir.
You said it's unacceptable to use violence against political causes. But how do we reconcile that with using violence against Nazism?
Yeah, gosh, what a great topic for another time. Yeah. I mean, there's great philosophical treatises written on this. There's books, there's essays. It's the most famous, well, no, there's a lot more famous things in the Bible, but philosophically, quis custodiet custodes. I think that's right. My Latin's not great. Who will mount guard over the guardians? So, sure, there's people that, how do we control our own impulses, and how do we get what we want to do? Well, you put somebody in charge, or we put a policeman, or but then who's going to guard him? So how do we actually stop true evil? Eventually, yes, occasionally you have to use violence. I suggest as a simple, short answer, that violence, unfortunately, when we need to use it, needs to be organized in a way of whether it's some form of government. Individual violence, I'm going to be jury, judge, executioner. I know what's right by God or otherwise, and I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I think is a really dangerous thing, not only for the person doing it, but the recipient and the rest of society. It becomes mob rule, it becomes anarchy. It's just really dangerous. We're a rule of law government. We should stick to the rule of law. If we don't like the rule of law, let's change the rule of law. Yes, sir. Thanks, Bob. And I'm really accessible. You just Google me. You will see thousands of hits. 1/3 to 2/3. No, not 2/3. 1/3 to half. You will not like me, by the way. I'm not asking you to like me. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm asking you to be a good citizen in the way you want to be. So when you Google me, you'll see court cases. You'll see Denver Post op-eds. You'll see, I post on Facebook almost every single day. You'll agree with me 2/3 of the time, I hope. Maybe 3/4. But 1/3 or 1/4, you'll violently, or at least vigorously, disagree with me. I want you to disagree with me. I'm not trying to convince you. Live your life, okay? So anyway, we don't have to be friends. We don't have to totally agree. We need to be good citizens. Just a warning. Okay, last call. Otherwise, thank you for your time. I honor you.